Suburbs at dusk. Imagine returning home after a long shift, the sun dipping below the horizon, only to find a skeletal skyscraper standing where the local park used to be. This is the suburbs at dusk, a 100-foot-tall quadrupedal anomaly that looks less like a biological creature and more like a fossilized root system. It lacks a head or any discernible sensory organs, leaving experts to wonder if it even perceives our existence or simply treats us like ants on a sidewalk. The entity's torso is a morbidly exposed rib cage acting as a launch pad for thousands of jagged, needle-thin tendrils. These bony filaments stretch toward the clouds, vibrating at a frequency that causes low-level auditory hallucinations in nearby residents. Many survivors report hearing faint funeral choirs, a psychological paradox where the brain seeks melody in mechanical destruction. What most people get wrong is classifying this as a predator. In reality, it is a biological terraformer. Its 4 massive legs branch into root-like structures as they touch the pavement, anchoring it so firmly that it defies gravity. It doesn't hunt humans. It simply overwrites our reality, tearing through concrete foundations like paper to plant its prehistoric architecture in our soil. Web Kraken. A flash of crimson against the gray skyline is your only warning. The Web Kraken stands 177 feet tall, a massive, faceless central epicenter weighing over 6,000 tons. Unlike the slow, plodding giants of myth, this entity is an apex urban predator that scales skyscrapers with the terrifying agility of a common house spider. It lacks a mouth, yet a sickening red glow pulsates from an orifice beneath its core, radiating heat that warps the very air around it. It utilizes 11 thick, muscular legs to anchor itself between buildings, effectively turning a downtown corridor into its private killing floor. The horror isn't just in its size, it's in the efficiency of its excrement. The Kraken violently ejects thick, adhesive webs that can entrap a mid-sized SUV in seconds. These aren't simple silk strands. They are chemically complex fibers that fuse with brick and steel, creating a permanent, suffocating tomb for those caught below. The common misconception is that the Kraken hunts for food. However, thermal scans suggest it is harvesting human body heat to incubate the red glow in its core. By the time you realize the fog in the alleyway is actually a web, the Kraken has already moved above you, turning the city's verticality against its own citizens. Sky tentacles. Look up during a severe thunderstorm and you might witness the violent purple-red rift in the clouds. Dropping directly from the stratosphere, 4 colossal jet-black appendages jut out like the legs of a cosmic tarantula. These sky tentacles are roughly 2.5 miles tall, covered in coarse, dark spikes that vibrate against the wind. While they appear massive and unwieldy, they strike the Earth at speeds of 56 miles per hour, a velocity that creates localized sonic booms upon impact. Historical records from the 14th century describe black pillars from heaven, claiming the unworthy during storms, suggesting these entities have been monitoring humanity from the stratosphere for millennia. Modern science often dismisses these as atmospheric anomalies or sprite lightning, but the physical displacement of air tells a different story. These are not weather patterns. They are sensory probes belonging to a larger, invisible intelligence lurking behind the storm front. The chilling reality is that the tentacles do not simply crush buildings. They are highly selective, plucking specific individuals into the rift while ignoring others standing just inches away. This isn't random destruction. It is a judgment. Historical patterns indicate that appearances of the tentacles coincide with periods of severe human moral or social decay, implying that our sky isn't empty. It's a waiting room for a silent, celestial jury. Remain indoors. The sunset brings a peculiar, gray-skinned leviathan that ignores the chaos of tanks and heavy artillery. Standing on 3 absurdly long, flexible legs, the Remain Indoors giant wanders empty containment fields with a trailing rear limb that functions like a 200-foot tail. Its torso is a featureless, fleshy oval draped in thousands of thin, swaying tendrils. Unlike its violent counterparts, this entity moves with a disturbing, fluid grace that feels almost maternal, which makes its true objective even more sinister. These fleshy ropes are not weapons of war. They are precision tools designed to gingerly pluck humans from the ground. While military reports focus on collection, survivors describe a hypnotic state induced by the giant's presence. The tendrils secrete a pheromone that suppresses the fight-or-flight response, leading victims to walk voluntarily into the entity's grasp. It treats us like rare specimens, lifting people toward the clouds to an alleged alien heaven that no one has ever returned from. The paradox here is that the giant never damages infrastructure. It will step over a line of tanks to reach a single child in an open field. Forensic analysis of abandoned areas reveals that the giant isn't clearing a path for invasion. It is curating a gallery. It doesn't want our world. It wants the best versions of us, and the indoors warning isn't just a safety protocol. It's a desperate attempt to stay out of sight of a cosmic collector that views your soul as a souvenir. Giant with red dots. Nightfall offer no sanctuary when a humanoid catastrophe standing 0.62 miles tall decides to go for a stroll. Weighing a staggering 490,000 tons, this entity possesses a specialized black skin that absorbs nearly all ambient light, making it a moving void against the stars. Forget decorative bioluminescence. Those 11 glowing red lights embedded across its torso are high-intensity biological sensors. They don't just see you. They track the raw neural electricity of every human pulse within a 5-mile radius. The scale here shifts the narrative from a simple monster sighting to a planetary-level threat. It acts as a cosmic bouncer, utilizing its illumination to blind and disorient entire city blocks before snatching up thousands of people simultaneously. No screams, just a sudden, searing flash. These lights function as a biological gateway, emitting a frequency that thins the very fabric of our dimension. It wanders through urban landscapes with a brooding, predatory attitude, seeking out the largest structures to dismantle. Every building it crushes is a calculated removal of human interference to clear a landing zone for something much larger. When the red dots fixate on you, the air temperature spikes, vaporizing moisture instantly. You aren't looking at a giant. You are looking at a living interdimensional beacon signaling that our reality is now under new terrifying management. 2027 Misty Guest 3. Dense fog usually muffles sound, but it cannot hide the rhythmic, tectonic thuds of Misty Guest 3. This hexapodal freak of nature reaches an altitude of 1.02 miles, towering so high that its organic armor-plated head often remains hidden above the smog line. Weighing over 8 million tons, its movement is a terrifying paradox. It doesn't lumber. It scurries with the speed and frantic energy of a deranged city-crushing gorilla, utilizing 4 hind legs for stability and 2 massive forelegs to propel its bulk forward. The auditory experience of its arrival is a psychological weapon in itself. Every step sends a 4.5 magnitude seismic wave through the pavement, shattering glass and liquefying the soil beneath skyscrapers. Steel-reinforced concrete has no meaning here. When this entity passes through a financial district, the pressure differential created by its sheer mass causes windows to implode before the feet even touch the ground. Buildings aren't just knocked over, they are turned into fine powder. The creature appears to possess an almost insect-like indifference to the lives beneath it, crushing entire neighborhoods not out of malice, but simply because we are friction in its path. The 2027 designation refers to a predicted event where this creature stops scurrying and begins to nest, a scenario that would effectively flatten every urban center on the East Coast through weight alone. Precursor of the First War. Modern warfare relies on a fragile lie, that anything made of flesh can be pierced by a sabot round or scorched by a missile. The Precursor of the First War deleted that logic in a single afternoon. Ranging from 260 feet to 1,200 feet in length, this bluish-gray muscular titan outpaces high-performance interceptors with a fluid, sickening velocity. Its skin is a kinetic energy sink. It doesn't just endure tank shells. It absorbs the impact, converting the force into a color-shifting aura that signals its next method of slaughter. An entire armored division once emptied their magazines into its flank. The Precursor didn't even break its stride. Silence followed. Then it unfurled a massive, proboscis-shaped tongue and began slurping up infantry units like nutrients in a petri dish. Our multi-billion-dollar defense budgets were rendered obsolete by a creature that treats aircraft carriers like plastic bath toys. Two glowing white eyes perceive thermal, electronic, and spiritual signatures simultaneously. There is no hiding. The Precursor wasn't just a monster. It was a herald. Its arrival proved that our most advanced weapons are primitive toys in the eyes of the multiverse. It didn't come to conquer us through traditional battle. It came to prove that human resistance is nothing more than a mathematical error in a much larger, darker equation. The Morning Walkers, the entities. Step into a deserted parking lot shrouded in mist, and you might find the team standing in frozen, terrifying silence. These four humanoid distortions, known as the Morning Walkers, abandon the sheer scale of their peers for a more intimate, visceral brand of body horror. Walker A is a master of asymmetry, supporting broad, uneven shoulders and a massive, bulbous lump of a head that droops lopsidedly down its spine. Beside it stands Walker B, a spindly nightmare with a shrunken skull, and arms so impossibly long their sharp-clawed hands scrape the asphalt even while standing upright. The group's anatomy only grows more deviant from there. Walker C has completely discarded the human bipedal layout, balancing its distorted torso on three evenly spaced, rigid legs that look like organic stilts. Then there is Walker D, a muscular, spear-like entity where the head and chest have fused into a single pointed sensory organ perched atop unusually thick, powerful thighs. They do not breathe, they do not twitch, and they do not pulse with light. They occupy the space like statues carved from meat, waiting for a witness. While other giants destroy through accidental weight, these entities are precisely engineered for visual revulsion. Their presence in familiar, mundane locations like a grocery store lot suggests they aren't lost. They are exactly where they intend to be, waiting for the mist to thin just enough for you to see their hideous silhouettes. The Morning Walkers, psychological warfare. The true depravity of the Morning Walkers isn't their shape, but their predatory patience. They are the only known giants capable of human speech, yet they use it as a weapon of psychological erosion rather than communication. They track victims through the fog in absolute silence, closing distances instantly without making a single sound. You will only realize you're being hunted when you hear a voice, but it isn't one voice. It is a perfectly synchronized sequence where each of the four entities contributes exactly one word to form a coherent, terrifying sentence. This isn't a limitation of their vocal cords. It is a calculated choice. By fragmenting language, they force your brain to engage with each entity, knitting their individual horrors together into a single cohesive threat. They don't scream for blood. Instead, they might whisper about your childhood home or the lock on your front door, proving they have been observing us long before the mist arrived. Why engage in such elaborate torture? They appear to feed on the cognitive dissonance of their prey. To see a kilometer-tall titan is a disaster, but to have a distorted humanoid speak to you in a familiar tongue is a violation of reality. They enjoy the ambush. The moment your heart rate spikes, as you realize the four figures in the distance are now standing directly behind you. They aren't just killing humans. They are deconstructing the concept of safety, ensuring that their victims die in a state of total mental collapse. The conclusion of reality. The emergence of these entities has effectively ended the era of human dominance, not through a conventional war, but through a total loss of agency. Whether you are plucked by a celestial collector or ground into dust by a 1.02-mile hexapod, the outcome remains indifferent to your plans. We have moved from being the masters of the earth to becoming incidental occupants of an alien landscape. Our infrastructure, our military budgets, and our survival shelters are merely obstacles for creatures that treat our physics as a suggestion. The darkness explained here isn't about how to fight back. It is about the cold acceptance of our new position in the food chain. We are witnessing a terrestrial reboot, where humanity is the obsolete software being deleted in real time. The giants do not hate us, just as we do not hate the grass we walk upon. They fulfill functions, collection, terraforming, or psychological harvesting that we cannot possibly comprehend. If these logs help you navigate the fog, subscribe to join our watch. Keep your blinds drawn and stay out of the fog, not because it will save you, but because it preserves the illusion of control for a few more minutes. The giants are already here and they are patient. Our world hasn't ended with a bang. It has simply been reclaimed by its original horrifying owners. Thank you for descending into the abyss with us today. Stay safe if you still can.